Urubamba, the ancestral river of the Incas, rises from within the Peruvian Andes. As the primary origin of the Amazon River, it extends from the Andean pinnacles heading towards the depths of the vast Amazon rainforest. Welling from the glaciers at an altitude of 4,000 meters, this is the birthplace of the world's longest river. It is from the Punas, these upper Peruvian arid plateaus, that the Urubamba's long journey begins, which after becoming the Amazon 6,800 kilometers below, spills into the Atlantic Ocean. Here, the river flows in all its primeval purity. Its waters, laden with minerals and volcanic gases, have been utilized by mankind from as far back as one can remember, revered for its therapeutic properties. The hot springs, Aguas Calientes, supply basins where the Quechua Indians of the upper region come to bathe, perpetuating an ancient custom. 8 years ago, this thermal site was revamped thanks to the efforts of a local association committed to its ancestral heritage.
These geothermal springs date back to the Inca period. This was where the Incas bathed to relax, soothe their aches and pains, and rest. We are their heirs, and as such, we maintain this site in order to preserve the purity and natural properties of the waters. We explain their many health benefits to the people.
According to the legend, the Apus, mountain divines, created the Urubamba River to fertilize the Pachamama, the earth goddess. In the language of the ancient Inca Empire, Quechua, it is known as Wilcamayo, the sacred river. Temples and ritual sites erected along its path bear witness to the worship of these healing waters by the Incas, such as Tipon, one of the most significant relics found along the river. Here, irrigation works, terracing, and canals, altogether essential to laboring the land, were closely linked to the worship of the sacred waters. Rafaela Ninku and researchers from the National Archaeological Institute proceeded to carry out excavations within the Urubamba Valley. The teams have recently uncovered one of the most impressive hydraulic structures of the primitive Inca civilization.
It is truly a canal dating back to the Inca period. It is fed by descending water from the mountains. It was built both for agricultural works and ritual ceremonies. Since the beginning of time, water has been an object of reverence. In their days, Inca bestowed their offerings to their huacas, which are the sacred springs always associated with the canals. Incas have built these canals and diverted the rivers. They had such great knowledge of hydraulic engineering. To this day, their work remains unsurpassed, and even we, as researchers, cannot fully grasp the full extent of their expertise. If we could sum up their knowledge of water in a nutshell, it would be their complete mastery of hydraulic resources.
The Urubamba River is the backbone of the 200-kilometer area that shapes the Sacred Valley, the heart of the incredible Inca Empire. Irrigation canals and terracing give evidence of the advanced level of agronomical and technical knowledge achieved by the Incas. This was an agricultural civilization that flourished over 3/4 of South America. What remains today of this worship of the river's water?
We practice this ritual to thank the Apis, spirits of the mountains, because they bring us rain in springtime. That's the season during which farmers, who have already sowed their fields, plead for rainwater. We are currently ravaging our rivers by throwing our refuse in them, by throwing away our trash in the rivers.
It's the destruction of man by mankind. We're in the midst of destroying our rivers. Look over there. They're dumping a fully loaded garbage truck. Poor river. We're in the process of killing ourselves.
The contamination source originates upstream of the Urubamba. Located at an altitude of 3,400 meters at the apex of the valley is the city of Cusco. Protected by the walls of the great Sacsayhuaman fortress, the city looms over the Sacred Valley. Cusco, the ancient capital of the Inca Empire and the cradle of civilization, where temples and palaces once overflowed with silver and gold, have since been pillaged by the Spanish conquistadors. Over the ruins of Inca temples, the Spanish have built churches. These Incan foundations have stood the test of time. Designed to withstand forces such as earthquakes, they remain intact, long after the Spanish structures built on top of them have collapsed. Such an event has led to the discovery of the Temple of the Sun's walls, which emerged from the rubble of the St. Dominique Church following the 1953 earthquake. Today, these walls, built without any mortar or cement by Inca architects, are the last remaining traces of the vanished empire. Mass tourism has since transformed the peaceful Andean village into a metropolis of 500,000 inhabitants. Pollution and urban strain increase steadily. Yet, this tourist-laden city is devoid of a water treatment plant. Wastewater and sewage from the modern city spill directly into the river. It is a threat to the ecological balance of the valley and to the purity of the water, so vital to agriculture. Pisac, the ancient city on the river's shoreline at the Sacred Valley's doorway, remains today the region's agricultural loft. At the communal market, an abundance of grains and legumes are bartered. Peasants, heirs to the Inca agricultural tradition, harvest close to 100 varieties of corn and more than 200 different varieties of potatoes, the renowned papas. The seeds, preciously preserved today, represent the unique and unparalleled heritage of Incan agriculture. It is on the Urubamba shores that today's Quechuas sow the nourishing earth.
We use our cattle to work the land. We sow corn, wheat, green peas, and beans. For that purpose, we use rainwater, but mostly river water. Like our ancestors, we are peasants and always have been.
Currently, there's less and less water. In the past, the river's water level used to be much higher.
At one time, water could immerse this entire area. Not anymore. It is currently receding all over the region, and I hope it won't disappear altogether. Without water, it would be the end of our world. Water is a raw material. Without it, there would be no harvests, nothing. There would be no life, of course.
On the other side of the valley, peasants are making plans. In order to deal with the lack of water, they have started their own project. For the last 4 years, through the support of an international NGO, engineer Carlos Acosta, alongside peasants from the surrounding Upper Valleys villages, have operated large work sites aimed at gathering fresh water.
Three communities come from the lower part of the valley. The rest live right here at the top. 6 communities gather up there around Corococa Lake to carry out the work.
At 4,000 meters, Coricocha Lake is an essential part of Urubamba Valley's hydraulic system. In the 80s, at the peak of the increase in population pressure, Cusco authorities decided to impound the lake's waters. The result? In less than 4 years, a complete failure of the resources required to sustain agriculture occurred. In response to the peasants' uprising, authorities swiftly stopped all pumping operations. However, the damage was done. It would have taken a century for Coricocha Lake to regain its water level. In order to deal with the water shortage, farmers from the valley communities rallied. Means of replenishing the lake needed to be found. Without any financial support from the state, Quechuas, guided by engineer Acosta, have begun carrying out a series of extensive collective work.
Hola, ¿cómo estás? ¿Qué tal, Santa Cruz?
Here you can see the Corococa Lake. It's fed by the canal, and with the help of 300 peasants, we are digging and cleaning. The canal is 2.5 kilometers long and features both concrete and earth sections. From January to April, during rain season, this canal fills up and can hold up to 2 million cubic meters of water. With this in mind, if it rains tomorrow or the day after, all that water will gather in this lake. It's an essential resource, as the infiltration of water within this volcanic area allows the lake to feed countless other sources of water from which over 20 peasant communities benefit.
Con sin número de manantiales o llamados fuentes de agua a 20 y tantas comunidades campesinas.
Cuando una vez va a hacer harta agua en Coricocha,
Thanks to the lake, we can carry out, without any chemicals, clean and natural agriculture. The carrots, lettuce, and beans are watered with this clean, non-contaminated water. That's the reason why we come and carry out this labor 3 or 4 times a year.
Entonces no hay contaminación, entonces para eso estamos en mantenimiento. Cada año hacemos por lo menos 3 o 4 veces.
Remember, this is where there used to be 2 massive boulders, which we had to break, so we need to increase the width of the canal to allow the water to flow. That's good, like that. Here's a Dutchman. Hello!
I'm French.
French, you say? It's great you're coming to help us out. Are you engaged to a peasant woman?
No, I'm just here to help out a little.
Are you an anthropologist?
No.
Sociologist? Journalist?
No, I'm just a tourist.
He'll open a canal all on his own. We'll have even more water.
Already, in 2003, there were 2 communities working together. In 2004 and 2005, it was 3 communities. And in 2008, it's a success. Since every year there's less and less water. The only solution is impounding the rainwater in order to fill the lake. So there's always a need for more and more people to maintain the canal. Here comes the water. The flow is good.
Como se puede apreciar, buena cantidad de agua.
On the way down the valley, on one of Urubamba's shores, the river reveals an additional benefit. Saltwater springs surge from volcanic wells, the Coripuyos. Canals leading towards terrace basins, the impounded water slowly evaporates under the heat of the sun. The salt is immediately collected following ancient practices.
It's a saltern that always yields salt. It's the source of water in itself that produces this salt. That's why the Incas called it white gold.
Por eso pues los Incas decían, esto es oro blanco.
Incas used to work here, just like this. Then the Incas died. They passed on their knowledge to their children, and our parents passed it on to us, and we continue to perpetuate this legacy.
It's very hard, but changing the bags is what's most exhausting because we have to carry them all the way back to the warehouse.
Rain season is near. We must hurry, as each year the open skies water carries the salt back towards the Urubamba's current. On the river's edge, Ollantaytambo, the fortified city, guarded the north entry to the Sacred Valley. In front of these fortifications, Manco Inca, one of the last Inca chiefs, had ferociously battled against Pizarro's conquistadors. Today, the city and its inhabitants remain under the influence of the Inca legacy. The city remains one of the most traditional examples of the Quechua's way of life. Beyond Ollantaytambo, the Urubamba River leaves the Sacred Valley. Nowadays, one can follow the course of the river, which gathers speed, spawning into torrents and rapids, strictly by rail. Secretly hidden by the mountains, invisible from the valley, Macchu Pichu, the only remaining Inca citadel. Virtually inaccessible, Macchu Pichu was spared from the Spanish invasion. It remained untouched by colonization. Once the Spanish domination was asserted, the city was gradually abandoned and slowly relinquished to the jungle. Over 4 centuries, the citadel is forgotten, a lost city amongst the mountains. In 1901, thanks to the plans of the Vaqueros, the Tomb Raiders, American archaeologist Hiram Bingham rediscovers the site. Today, with over 500,000 visitors a year, Macchu Pichu stands as the most important landmark in South America. It has become the valley's economic breeding ground. This has been at the risk of contributing further to the upper Peruvian region's ecological degradation. At the foot of Macchu Pichu, the Urubamba undergoes changes. Within a few kilometers, it rushes through a 5,000-meter drop. The river then seeps into the depths of the tropical forest. The majestic Urubamba River is at the threshold of the Amazon. The Ivochote Harbor is the southern doorway to the Peruvian Amazon. Beyond it, no more roads, no more trails. The river is the sole pathway through the Amazon. Only the pangueros, aboard 17-foot-long pirogues, are fit to negotiate Urubamba's many dangers. 6,000 kilometers of waterways, an incredible distance that extends as far as Brazil towards the mouth of the Amazon River. Urbano and Julio have been boat drivers for over 20 years. The pirogue they operate connects Ivochote to all established communities alongside the Urubamba's final 500-kilometer stretch.
We carry merchants, passengers. The river is our sole means of transportation. Yes, the only. We serve as plane, train, and car. We also act as grocer and service station. In fact, we bring the city to the people. The river isn't like a road. It constantly changes. Today, we'll travel this way, and tomorrow, we may use the other side. It moves as if it's alive. It cannot be restrained.
Navigating this section of the river is particularly treacherous. The Ponqueros' angst increases as they approach the final hurdles prior to reaching the extensive Amazonian plain. The Pongo de Maninique rapids are particularly dreaded. As a former trading junction between Inca and Amazonian cultures and a natural border separating Upper from Lower Urubamba, the Narrows of Pongo de Maninique remain sacred to the river dwellers.
I always bring a small beer, and when I pour it I say, "Little Pongo, I beg you to let me through." We bring her something to quench her thirst. It's an offering. Sometimes I bring a little champagne. Then we can go through.
The pirogue now enters Machicuenga territory. The lives of Indian communities are strongly tied to the river. Santiago, a teacher in Timpia, is a regular pirogue user.
To us, the river is a pantry where we can find all varieties of fish. It's also where we, the Machigangas, live. Way back, Machigangas didn't have boats such as these. We used to paddle our way up the entire river to the most remote cities.
Until then, this part of the Amazon was protected territory. The Peruvian Constitution allowed for the integrity of the indigenous lands to be maintained, ensuring the preservation of the region's ecosystem, a delicate balance at risk of profound upheaval. Some of Peru's most significant natural gas fields can be found along the Urubamba. They awaken feelings of greed in one and all. Towards the latter part of the 90s, the government trivialized the Constitution and allowed concessions to occur within indigenous lands. This marked the beginning of Amazonian gas exploration. In 2004, at the heart of the Machicuenga territory, the Plus Petrol conglomerate initiated natural gas extraction in Camisea, at the edge of the Urubamba. The liquid gas, pumped through a 700-kilometer gas pipeline extending to the Pacific, is intended to be used exclusively for exportation and for consumption by the city of Lima, the capital of Peru.
There's no access from here, but behind those trees is where all the gas pipes are. Everything's there.
40 years from now, the gas reserve will be depleted and the company will leave as quickly as it appeared. The incurred environmental changes, however, will be irreversible.
The government is in the process of selling the Amazon. It sells the community's land. It's our only way to live. We are opposed to the sale of the Amazon. This is the reason why we fought with unity. This is where we cut off access to the river in lower Urubamba. The entire population rebelled in order to send a clear message to the national government.
The company issued compensation in response to the community's anger. It then increased exploitation. The company generates tremendous amounts of pollution, and pipeline bursts lead to liquid gas discharges in the Urubamba. Such contamination endangers both wildlife and vegetation. Fishing, a key economic resource for these communities, is being jeopardized. Residing a few meters above the river within the Chochoriari community, the lives of Casimiro Fuentes' family have been deeply affected by the river's pollution.
The pipeline is located upstream of this river's arm. When it rains and there's lots of water, the river carries debris of all kinds. Some pipe remnants, scrap metal, lots of dirt, and even liquid gas is leaking from the pipeline.
Since 2004, the village's 50 families have suffered damage caused by two distinct pipeline bursts. The most recent incident occurred just 800 meters from the dwellings and contaminated the river and all drinking water supplies. Guillermo Gomez is one of the officers in charge of the community of Chochoriari.
We are extremely worried because the river is what is most important to us. The Urubamba is our only water supply, and we can no longer drink it. The company must take care of the situation. It is vital to us. However, neither the company nor the state cares about us. We are some of the most remote Peruvian communities, and no one listens to us. The president will never set foot here. We are too far away. We don't matter to them.
The Urubamba River travels through the confines of Peru and Bolivia, a region featuring a rich biodiversity. About 30 other indigenous communities, whose existence is greatly contingent on the river, must cope with issues similar to the ones the Chochoriari peasants are faced with. Following a 10-hour journey by pirogue beneath the forest's canopy, the Machi villages fade away in the background. The Urubamba enters Inez territory. About 50 years ago, these nomads originally from the Amazon had established themselves on the lower Urubamba shorelines. As one of the last remaining river communities, Miaria is actively involved in the fight for indigenous rights and is one of the most organized in this effort. Gerardo Ponciano is the elected village chief. Confronted with ecological threats afflicting traditional crop growing and fishing, his community has developed new resources. The village women have come together to create a delicate craft. They design and produce cloth featuring intricate designs inspired by the Urubamba, the forests, and various Inez cultural traditions. They sell their creations far beyond their own village's precinct.
This design represents insects, the small spiders from the river. In summer, they walk like this, all together. It symbolizes community life and teamwork. I have something else here. It's for children. These are butterfly wings. They represent the flight of the butterflies. It's a small design with spread out wings like this.
In the new school located in the heart of the village, students learn two languages, Yin and Spanish. Formal education is one way to teach the children about their own cultural heritage, and also to prepare them for the turmoil that awaits them.
Uno, dos, y tres. La familia, la familia, el papá, la mamá, el hermano chico y el bebé.
Despite the peaceful facade, an uprising is brewing. Gerardo Ponciano, together with other Miaria delegates, are on their way to an assembly in Sensa. In a historical first, the lower Urubamba's indigenous communities stand united, holding council in this neighboring village. The aim is to stage the next step in this collective fight for the river, their vital resource.
We've always been warriors, expert navigators, and merchants. We are currently facing new obstacles, the eddy threatening to sink our pirogues and endangering our way of life. We are well aware of our united strength, of our power to defend our rights, and of our ability to take control of our future and our progress.
Today, they appear fairly optimistic. Their last meeting was a total success.
This is where we completely obstructed the river. None of Plus Petrol's vessels or private boats could get through. We all stood up demanding to be heard by both the company and the state. It took 10 days for the company to finally concede and agree to negotiate with us.
las empresas también vinieron aquí.
The population stays alert. The river traffic is closely monitored, especially since 2 other larger-scale projects are currently underway. Now is the time to consider our future.
The companies will eventually disappear, but we live here. What will we have left? We want the opportunity to run a sustainable growth project. They will all leave, and we will have to carry our own development while utilizing our local resources.
Con nuestro propio esfuerzo.
It's not all about us. Our children are the ones we primarily care about. What will their future hold in 20 to 40 years? We're acting now to grant them something tangible, to give them better living conditions and the prospect for growth and progress.
Que ellos mejoren, que ellos progresen, desarrollen, que tengan buenas condiciones de vida.
The battle they wage is essentially that of David against Goliath, indigenous communities against multinationals. What is at stake is the river. It is as much a nourishing river as it is a cultural heritage that not only bears the vestiges of long-lost civilizations, but also provides the remaining Indian communities with an opportunity to perpetuate their ancient traditions. This is a true heritage in need of safeguarding.